As a massive franchise, Dragon Ball is no stranger to its fair share of retcons, misconceptions, and not to mention inconsistencies. Some of these are caused by stuff lost in translation, whether cultural, contextual, or even caused by the change of medium from manga to anime, whilst the others are a little bit harder to explain. Today, we are going to look at some of them, mostly in the anime, because they really have to fill in the gaps. Now, these are by no means damning for the franchise, nor do we use them to be unnecessarily cruel towards the series, because of the fact there's really nothing going on. We just think that sometimes it's fun to find some of those imperfections and try to find their source, much like how Imperfect Cell tries to find the source of perfection with the androids. So let's start with Krillin's inconsistent height. Back when the original Dragon Ball was still a thing, Krillin's height was pretty simple. In fact, a lot of things about Dragon Ball were simple because there wasn't a lot going on. When he was a kid, he was as tall as Goku. And when we got to the Piccolo Jr. saga, he was noticeably shorter than him because progress. Now, things started to look more interesting around the time of early Z, when Krillin changed height rapidly, sometimes multiple times during the same scene. It's not unheard of for a man at the age of 20 to be still growing, because that's how old Krillin is during the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, but it is pretty rare for them to be still growing after 20. Also, something else seems to be happening with our bald hero, as he seems to be shrinking and growing all the time, never really settling on one consistent height. I mean, take a look at these screen caps here. He is about the size of Goku and Bulma, but quickly seems to be much shorter than Raditz. Yeah, our favourite boy's tall, but he's not that tall. He's shorter than Piccolo. You can also see this in its most dramatic example over here, as you can see how much Super likes to shrink poor Krilldog. You know, if the Piccolo Jr. saga height is correct, and Krillin is not a rare example of late growing, Super might be simply correcting the height of the character. In fact, if you look at him next to Yamcha and Goku from those early screenshots that we have shown you, this would match his height from Super. Super actually fixing something and not breaking it. But Krillin's mysterious height isn't the only case of weird size changes throughout the series. Vegeta is also quite frequently a victim of this. A lot of the time, we see him as being about Goku and Bulma's height, not too dissimilar, when he actually should be quite noticeably shorter than both of them. Again, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the proportions of the characters do change between various stages of Z, not to mention the fact that Vegeta's neck, it gets swole. Then again, we do believe that at least the anime department is dedicated to showing Goku's current rival as almost equal in every scene. He is slightly shorter than Kakarot, but their size difference never quite returned to what it was in early Z. And admittedly, it is kind of funny. Maybe the prince is sometimes wearing high heels, but hey, maybe he's perfectly secure. Also, to end the height debacle, Goku's Great Ape form was literally changing its height between the panels of its original debut. But enough about the sizes, let's talk about something different. Tournaments. Everyone loves them, but they come with their own set of rules. Sometimes you need to register twice for the same tournament. The case of this happening during the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament is pretty easy to explain though, as the anime was stalling for time with the filler, showing the process before the manga and then later having to repeat it once the correct chapter was released and Toriyama had done his own version. I bet you didn't know about that, eh? It's also why Krillin's fight with Bacterians seems so back and forth in the animated version, as it had to be extended for the sake of time to make sure there was a big buffer. At some points, it's even stated that the Krilldog is about to lose without landing a single hit on his smelly opponent, and that's just not right, despite us clearly seeing him do so earlier. We do know that during the Tournament of Power, the Omni Kings were rather fast and loose when it came to, well, implementing the actual rules and usage of gadgets. Originally, it was not meant to be possible, but kind of was then. As much as it fits the finicky godchildren, it is a little bit harder to figure out why throwing a bone to ring out Manwolf is not breaking the rules. Also, shouldn't Manwolf be disqualified in the first place for drawing out a knife in the ring? The announcer even states that that's against the rules, but he gets to carry on anyway. And remember how Ten Shinhan wanted to use a technicality that whoever touches the ground first loses during the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament? Well, Piccolo kind of destroyed the ring in the 23rd one, so well, what happens then? Shouldn't that end the match pretty quickly as there's no arena left to fight in? Also, Goten and Trunks were disqualified from fighting together in the Battle Royale scenario. The more viable reason should be that they could not participate in the senior division, but no one ever used that argument at all. The only reason they were disqualified is because They were both in the ring instead of one of them. Speaking of Trunks, you probably remember the weird case of Trunks' hair. While originally Bulma had purple hair or lavender hair on the manga covers, for some reason the anime decided to change it to blue. Toriyama has always drawn this to be consistent between her and her children, but the anime staff did not change it when future Trunks first debuted. Although Trunks' hair in the anime was more of the grey purplish variety, it did not match his mother's in this one. This was kept for his present day self, so at least the two of them were now consistent. Until Super came, and for some reason it fixed future Trunks' hair to match his mum's, but it hasn't done that for his present counterpart. What's up with that? Now things get even weirder in Superhero, which generally tried to go with manga coloration for the likes of the Piccolo, for example. Okay, they fixed that. Well, kinda, because, you see, Gotenks still has purple bits, despite them being the result of Trunks being part of the fusion. And you've changed his original hair color to blue, so Gotenks' should be blue. Why isn't it blue? The hair color changes of Trunks have been the source of many frustrations for Dragon Ball fans over the years. But there was something even closer to home that kept changing. Something pretty iconic. Something that was frequently featured in nearly every Dragon Ball saga we know of. That's right, Goku's house. You see what I did there? Hitting close to home? Okay, we'll get on with it now. Anyway, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint the exact location of the place, as it does tend to change. Originally, both in the early stages of Z and in the Dead Zone movie, it was at the foot of a mountain and on the edge of a forest. But sometimes the house gets relocated to a plateau with the mountains nowhere to be seen or far off in the distance. And then there is this from episode 138 of DBZ, which puts the house on a flat terrain near a farmland. You know, it might be just one of Bulma's fancy capsule homes and they can just move it willy-nilly. But I'm pretty sure that if that were the case, we would have seen them move it around. And what about Grandpa Gohan's hut? Because that can't move, surely. That was around before the time of Hoi Poi capsules. Also, did you ever notice that Gohan has destroyed 8 Cell Juniors, despite having created 7 of them? If you watched Kai, probably not, because that particular goof had been corrected. Also, in the manga, Trunks knew of androids 19 and 20 as the ones who killed Dr. Gero, despite later claiming that it was android 17 that murdered the Doctor. Of course, we know that plans have changed and that it was all connected to the most rocky saga development to date. Yet it is funny to see Trunks not knowing the guys that he was warning the team about. Also, Chi-Chi laments her inability to drive, despite us seeing her drive after her wedding in a flashback that takes place after her wedding, and then you see her drive sometimes in Z. And for some reason, she doesn't use Flying Nimbus anymore, even though she is capable of using it. Is she no longer pure of heart? Or maybe her obsession with a normal family keeps her from doing that, as in she'll do anything to preserve a normal family unit. Maybe something's not quite pure. We won't even mention the whole Saiyans breathing in space debacle, as it's mostly caused by filler arcs wanting to give us more time with red-haired Vegeta and his buddy Nappa beforehand. To think that in the anime we had to wait till the Broly movie to see the red-haired Vegeta again. Does that mean he was a Super Saiyan god before realizing it? Don't worry, I was kidding. Or was I? You know, in actuality, it's never really quite explained how he got that form in the first place. It seems you can just train a lot and not need the whole ritual. But the different means of getting the transformations would not count as inconsistencies, but maybe more like unexplained story bits, as well as the whole debacle about pure-heartedness, which seems to be an in-world misconception. Now here's another quick one of Krillin being the master of quick uniform changes, just between scenes, in fact. Also, have you ever noticed that Mr. Popo uses the Dragon Balls to revive the Namekians after Kami and Piccolo had been brought back to life? Okay, well what's weird about that? Well, they should still be on cooldown, as they were used 1 month prior to revive Goku. Did the cooldown reset with the death of Kami or something? Or can the Guardian make exceptions? Or maybe Shenron just knows better. Also, in both Yo's Son Goku and Friends Return and Dragon Ball Super Broly, Goten and Trunks, as well as Goku and Vegeta, are able to keep trying to fuse with the fusion dance without the established 1 hour cooldown. Most likely it was done to speed up the action and hopefully people wouldn't notice, but still. The amount of fusion-related retcons makes it hard for us to simply let them slide. And you know, most of this stuff is kinda harmless. With a franchise as vast and old as Dragon Ball, it's 100% certain that things like this would happen. Between different adaptations and different media, and we also covered just the anime and the manga, we haven't touched games, but still, those moments live within the fandom. often as in-jokes. Sometimes we don't even notice them until someone else points them out. Okay, be honest in the comments. How many of you knew about the whole Cell Jr. thing? At the end of the day, those little issues are part of the franchise's charm. Most of them seem to be genuine incidents of being mistakes and not examples of something done intentionally, like certain story decisions that may be judged more directly. We're looking at you, Sensu Bean Moro and Bardock's buffoonery. We hope that you enjoyed this little trip down inconsistency lane, and we'll catch you later.